Yo, what's up guys, S Future here. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. Today we are ranking Bullet For My Valentine's albums. All of them. This is a video that I've been wanting to make for literally years. Like ever since I started my channel, my very first reaction was to Shatter by Bullet For My Valentine back in 2021. Ever since I made my very first video, I've wanted to make this video and I've just really never gotten around to it. And I actually want to make this video with many different bands. So yeah, I've been planning to do this for a long time and I'm finally getting around to it. We are going to be ranking and reviewing all of Bullet For My Valentine's discography. We are going to be doing this on a tier list maker that I have pulled up here, but we're not just going to be putting them in the tier list. We are going to be talking about every individual album and I'm giving my thoughts on these albums. This might be a little bit of a long video, but I'm excited. Before we get into actually my reviews of these albums from Bullet For My Valentine, I want to let you guys know, if you guys are new to the channel and haven't seen my videos before, just to give you guys some insight, Bullet For My Valentine is my favorite band of all time. They've been my favorite band since like 2016. The first song I ever heard from these guys, I believe, was No Way Out. I listened to No Way Out as soon as it released on YouTube. I saw the lyric video for it as soon as it came out. It came up on my recommended because I just had recently gotten into metal music back in like 2016, and that came out and I fell in love with that song. I checked out, the Poison, all of their previous albums, checked out Venom in its entirety, checked out all of their music, and they've been my favorite band since. I saw them live a few months ago. That was incredible. That's also going to have some way on my opinions on these albums because I've heard some of the songs live. We got the Bullet hat on and I also got the Bullet shirt on. So without further ado guys, let's rank these albums. So to start off, you've got to start off with my favorite album of all time, not just in metal music, not from Bullet, my favorite album of all time. You know what? I'll be right back. Add a little touch. How about I get my CDs for each album as we're rating them. So anyways, The Poison, like I said, my favorite album of all time. I remember hearing this album for the first time in its entirety. It was magical. This sounds really cringe and dramatic, but I feel like this album genuinely changed me as a person. To this day, I love this album. I've been listening to this album for 8 years, and compared to a lot of older fans, that's nothing. But loving and cherishing this album for all this time has been great on me as a person, I think. So obviously The Poison is going to be in the perfect category. The categories I have here are perfect, great, good, bad, and horrible. Also, by the way guys, this is a public tier list, so if you guys would like to go find this tier list and do your own ranking, make your own video on it, or just do it for fun, I will actually link this tier list in the description. I made this tier list, so if you guys want to go do it, go do it. I think this album specifically, I think Bullet as a band has influenced and had so much influence on modern metalcore music and just metal in general. But this album specifically, I think, has done so much to the metal music community. Take me, for example. I make my own music, and a lot of my songwriting is heavily inspired from Bullet For My Valentine and Matt Tuck, and I'm not the only one out there. There are many, many big bands who are influenced by Bullet For My Valentine, and especially The Poison. The Poison is my favorite album of all time, but even being subjective in that saying it's my favorite, I honestly think it's the best album of all time. Obviously, there are some contenders that could go up there with especially from Killswitch Engage and Avenged Sevenfold and other huge metalcore bands. And I know a lot of people would put other albums above The Poison, and there are a lot of people that like other bands more than Bullet. But being unbiased, I genuinely think The Poison is the best metalcore album of all time. It's just perfectly written, man. Every song is 10 out of 10. They're so unique. It's so weird that every song on The Poison is so unique, but they did such a good job at keeping such a cohesive sound throughout the whole album. You can tell all these songs are off the same album. It is The Poison, but they're all so unique in their same way. It's weird to me. Moving on to Bullet For My Valentine's second album, Scream, Aim, Fire. Right off the bat, I would also put this album as perfect. Honestly, I've went through so many phases in the last 8 years. I've had so many arguments with myself of whether I like the Poison or Scream Aim Fire more, honestly. There have been times in conversation when I've been talking to other Bullet fans when I would tell them, yeah, I think Scream Aim Fire is better than the Poison. It really just, you gotta like catch me at certain times, because at this particular moment, the Poison is my favorite album of all time. But if you talk to me in 2 months, I might think Scream Aim Fire's better. It's a toss-up. I think they're both 10 out of 10. I think they're both incredible. But I do think most times the Poison is going to be my favorite, mainly because the sound of the Poison I prefer to Scream Aim Fire. I think as musicians and as a band, I think Scream Aim Fire was a better written album. I think it was way more professional and mature, and it has a bigger and better sound to it. But I think because of nostalgia and the immaturity of it and the unprofessionalism of the Poison, because it was just made by some teenagers and they made fucking magic when they made the Poison, I will always pick the Poison, I think. But talking about Scream Aim Fire is awesome. When I was talking about it having a more professional and mature sound, that has a lot to do with the different sound they went for in Scream Aim Fire. I think Scream Aim Fire, majority of the sound of the song has some thrash vibes. I think in Scream Aim Fire they lean towards their Metallica influences a lot more in Scream Aim Fire, especially having longer songs and longer instrumentals, a lot more crazy, complex guitar work in general. It's weird that these albums came out right after each other, you know? Like, The Poison came out in 2005, and then 2008 was Scream Aim Fire. You know, only 3 years difference, and it sounds like they grew so much as a band. The production level and the songwriting, like I'm saying, these songs, majority of the songs on Scream Aim Fire are like 5-minute plus songs, and they're masterpieces, all of the songs. And that's kind of what I mean about it being more professional and mature. It's just, the songs are just, they sound like they were made more maturely, if that makes sense. But that's, like I said, part of the reason I like the Poison more was because of how young the album is. I also really love the lyricism in Scream Aim Fire much more compared to the Poison, actually. I think a lot of the song topics in Scream Aim Fire are a lot more mature and kind of have more topics and ideas to them, instead of the Poison just kind of feels like they didn't have huge meanings. I know that's kind of like not right to say, because you have songs like 10 Years Today and Tears Don't Fall, like songs that have these big meaningful topics, but I feel like Scream Aim Fire really leveled that up with each song having these huge ideas and stories to them. So in that regard, I definitely like Scream Aim Fire more. So yeah, as far as Scream Aim Fire goes, I will also put it at perfect, but I am going to put it behind the Poison. I did put the deluxe versions of their albums on this tier list because I wanted this to be a full Bullet For My Valentine discography tier list, but I am not going to go full in depth on these deluxe editions just because they only add a couple more songs, as all their deluxe editions really are. So if we're going back to the Poison deluxe edition, I'm going to put it also at perfect because I do love the deluxe editions on the Poison. And even, you know, it's a perfect album without the deluxe editions. The deluxe editions just make it even better, so it's still a perfect album. And the same thing with the Scream Aim Fire Deluxe. It's also perfect. Moving on, next we have Fever. I think these three albums are like the trilogy for Bullet For My Valentine. I think when you talk to a lot of older Bullet For My Valentine fans, they always talk about how their first three albums are the greatest, and they went downhill after that, and it just wasn't great. And I mean, that's pretty much agreeable, but I love Fever. It's a great album. I'm also torn between Fever and Scream Aim Fire. Sometimes I like Fever more than Scream Aim Fire. I don't think I'll ever enjoy Fever as much as the Poison, though. But like I said, it's just a toss-up. Sometimes I'll tell you I like Scream Aim Fire more. Sometimes I like Fever more. Your Betrayal is sometimes like my favorite Bullet For My Valentine song, so that also really hypes up Fever for me. I think with Fever, they left that thrashy sound that they were going for in Scream Aim Fire, and they kind of went more back to the Fever roots of just having the melodic hard rock metalcore sound, where they had that sound in the Poison and then Scream Aim Fire. They kept the metalcore sound but added thrash elements, and then in Fever they went to like a more hard rock metalcore sound, and got less heavy with Fever as well. But this album also has some really huge songs like Your Betrayal, Bittersweet Memories, The Last Fight. Like those three songs on Fever are incredible songs, some of my favorite Bullet songs. The rest of the album is incredible as well. So yeah, I'm also going to put Fever at perfect. I know a lot of you guys probably think I'm biased being a huge Bullet fan, but I'm not being biased. These are genuinely my opinions on these albums. Moving on to Temper Temper, where people tend to say Bullet For My Valentine really went downhill and died off as a band. I mean, yeah, there was obviously something that happened after the Fever cycle that disconnected with Bullet and their fans with this album. I remember seeing interviews for this album, and I always remember seeing Matt talking about how this album was meant to be simple. It wasn't meant to be some huge industry-changing record. And I think when you talk about Temper Temper and Gravity, which we will talk about further in the video, I think if you take these albums for what they are, they really aren't that bad. Like if you just listen to Temper Temper and don't compare it to the Poison, don't think of the Poison, don't think of Scream Aim Fire, don't think of Fever, forget those albums existed, and just listen to Temper Temper. It's not a bad album. It really isn't. It's a good, really hard rock album. That's the only album that I would really call hard rock. I mean, it's like really soft metalcore. It doesn't really get heavy at pretty much any time in Temper Temper. There's a couple songs that have heavier moments, but overall it's like a very soft hard rock album. I love the album. I mean, Prisoner of War, POW, is like one of my favorite Bullet songs, and that's a very soft song, by the way. So like I said, I think if you just take Temper Temper for what it is a great album. But with that being said, I am not going to put it at perfect. Like I said, it is a great album. So I think I'm going to put Temper Temper at great. Now moving on to Venom. I think Venom honestly brought back a lot of the Scream Aim Fire elements. I think they did a really good job in Venom of mixing all of their sounds up until this point in their careers. There's a lot of sounds from the Poison, Scream Aim Fire, Fever, Temper Temper. It's honestly, Venom feels like they made Temper Temper, but with all of their old albums influenced into it, and they made a heavier Temper Temper. And Venom's a great album. I feel like it's not talked enough about. When you talk to Bullet For My Valentine fans, Venom just really isn't mentioned that much. I think it's really overlooked as an album. I think that has a lot to do with Bullet's marketing. I honestly think Bullet just hasn't had great marketing ever. I think this album didn't get as big as it should have gotten. Because honestly, I think Venom is just as good as Fever, honestly. So with that being said, I am going to put Venom in the perfect category right behind Fever. Also, by the way, I know that Venom is the Venom album, and there is the Venom Deluxe album, and I was talking about doing the main ones and the deluxe editions. I'm just going based off the Spotify albums, and if you guys have ever checked out Bullet's Spotify, the original Venom album is not on Spotify, so I always just count the deluxe edition as the Venom album. In my eyes, the deluxe edition is Venom. Anyways, moving on to Gravity. Gravity is like Bullet's most hated album ever. I think that's safe to say. Most Bullet fans think Gravity is their worst album. I mean, most people, it's Gravity or Temper Temper. Like I was talking about having a toss-up between the best album between the Poison and Scream Aim Fire, it's honestly the same with their worst album. Some days I think Temper Temper's their worst, some days I think Gravity's their worst. I mean, they're completely two different sounds. Gravity is the Bullet's most experimental album. There are a lot of reasons I love Gravity. I think it's very overhated. I think it's great, honestly. When you like I was saying earlier, when you take these albums as they are, instead of comparing them to other albums, they're really good. Like Gravity is a very emotional, experimental album. It is not heavy. You basically only have 3 heavyish songs on Gravity, taking Don't Need You, Piece of Me, and Under Again, or like the only heavy-ish songs on Gravity. Overall, it is a very like pop rock album. I think a lot of people forget that during this album cycle, Matt was going through a divorce, and that had a lot to do with the way this album was made, the way it is way more emotional than the normal Bullet album. And sometimes when I watch interviews with Matt Tuck and he talks about Gravity, I can see in his face how much he loves Gravity and how upsetting it is to him how poorly received it was by the metal community, because I think Gravity's like Matt's baby. Like, he loves that album. He always talks about how that album did so much for him. There was so much that he needed to get out during that time in his life that Gravity really helped him do that. And when you have that information and know more about the background of the album, it made me love it so much more. I think it's a good, emotional, softer rock, softer metal album. And it has some catchy tunes at the end of the day. The sound is not bad. The production is great on Gravity. Like, taking the mixing and mastering of Matt's vocals and the synth work and electronic stuff that they do throughout the album is really cool and experimental for Bullet. So yeah, for me, it's really just comparing Temper Temper to Gravity, trying to decide which one I like worse or like which one I like more. It just depends on the day, really. Sometimes I just kind of want a chill, sad vibe. I want to put on songs like Coma off of Gravity. It's just a nice vibe you can just chill out to. But sometimes I want Temper Temper that's more of like a kind of speedier, hard rock sound that kind of has some old school rock vibes to it. I think I'd honestly put them equal. Most days I think I'd put them equal. So right now I'm gonna put Gravity at great in front of Temper Temper. I think that's fair. Now moving on to Bullet's most recent project, the self-titled record from 2021. This album has a special place in my heart because this album basically started my reaction channel when I checked out Shatter when it came out as a single. I reacted to that. That was my very first video on YouTube. And I checked out the whole album, checked out all the singles, reacted to the whole album on my channel. Those videos are fucking terrible because I didn't know what I was doing and making horrible reaction videos. Don't watch them. But due to that, this album has a special place in my heart. Not even just because of that, but because this album's incredible, man. It's genuinely so fucking good. It's so good. Their best production ever. The mixing and mastering of this album is incredible. The songwriting is so good. There's so much diversity within the album between the songs. Matt sounds like his strongest on this album. His screams are so powerful. His singing is great. The guitar work's amazing. Having Jason as a drummer is incredible. We've had Jason for a couple albums, but it's a great project. So in terms of placing it, obviously it's in the perfect category, but I don't know whether to put it below Fever or above Fever. I don't know, because Fever's so nostalgic and it has such good sing-along songs, and it's like Fever's like the best album to like take a road trip on. Just press play and listen to those songs. Your Betrayal kicks in with those drums and you fucking sing your heart out during the whole road trip. Honestly, I think I am going to put the self-titled below Fever and above Venom. I think would be the best place for me to put it. Fever has some really good songs, but I think as a album, the self-titled is definitely better. That's difficult. You guys let me know down in the comments down below which album's better, Fever or the self-titled. The self-titled deluxe, we're gonna put that, right below Fever as well. I totally forgot to fucking get these CDs while I was talking about them. Anyways, here are all my Bullet CDs that I grabbed for fucking no reason that I gotta go put back now. Anyways, guys, this is the Bullet For My Valentine discography tier list. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments down below. Let me know how you guys would do this differently, or better yet, go do it by yourself. I'll put the link to this tier list down in the description. You guys go do it. do the whole tier list, put the albums where you would put them, and then take a screenshot and send it to me on Instagram. I'll put my Instagram up on the video, and it's also, the link to my Instagram is also in the description. Shoot me a DM, send me a picture of what you would make your tier list like, or if you guys are already in the Discord server, you guys can just send a screenshot in there and I'll let you guys know what I think of your tier list. But also discuss down in the comments down below, let me know what you guys think. I'd like to have some conversations about this, because I'm very passionate about Bullet For My Valentine, and I want to know what you guys think. If you guys are also a big Bullet fans, I want to know which albums you would put above others, which albums you would put below others. What's your favorite Bullet album? Comment all that stuff down in the comments down below, and I will reply to you and we can have a discussion about it. Thank you guys for checking this out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel for future tier list, album ranking videos, whatever this kind of collage of video was. Let me know what band I should do next. I would like to do this again. I have a lot of favorite bands. I would be down to make a video, the same type of video on, like, of Mice and Men or Asking Alexandria, any of those. Like, I have a lot of favorite bands, so if there are any specific bands you guys want me to see and make a video like this on, comment that band down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the future.